All right, hey folks, welcome back. Your buddy Brad coming at you, and yeah, it's been a hot minute since you seen me since I dropped anything new. There's a couple of good reasons for that. One, oh my God, rain, and a lot of it. Not flooded out, but I can't even reach the range. Two, and more importantly, been waiting on components, loading components, little pieces of equipment stuff to come in so I could set up the next video. And I may have mentioned I'm pretty sure I mentioned in my last video that I was going to do a little accuracy testing on the 416 Ruger. Once I kind of got the loads that I wanted dialed in and I knew what pressure levels I was working with. I've got some of the Barnes TSX-Tipped 350 grain, and they're monsters. Just the projo itself, longer than an entire 44 Magnum cartridge. They're big. And I've got two loadings that I'm going to test. Now, I'm kind of cranking this out as an introductory, kind of get this information to you so that when I do get the chance to go to the range, I don't have to spend a whole lot of time talking about it while we're on the range. It's been my experience that a lot of times those videos tend to turn out long, and there's a whole lot of production that you have to cut to make it viable. So I'm just doing this little two-part series. This is the intro. I've done it before. I'll probably do it again. But it gives you the information you might want. You can refer back to this, and I will make mention of it on the range. But like I said, we're doing an accuracy test with the Barnes TSX-Tipped 350 grain 416 Ruger bullet. 416 bullet. I guess you could use it in a Rigby or Remington or anything else 416. But we're using the Ruger African 416 rifle. And one thing I found out is that bad girl's got a lot of throat. Pardon the pun, it was not intended that way. But she do have a fairly deep throat. For those of you who were alive in the 60s and 70s, you know from whence I speak on the pun. But so I've got two different loads to test. I've got a load, 4 rounds, that I've got seated so that they work within the box magazine of the weapon. In other words, they're loaded and seated to a depth that I can put a full magazine worth in there, and they'll feed smoothly and reliably from that magazine. Now with this bullet, that means there's about 400 thousandths plus of the base sitting below the angle where the neck actually meets the shoulder. It goes way down in there, and consequently certain powders, their use is prohibited because you're to like a 135% compact double compressed load, and that shit's unsafe. So you've got to use some type of powder, some type of propellant that will give you the ability to seat that bullet far enough without crushing your powder to the point of making it want to squirt the primer out the base of the cartridge. So I've settled on Winchester 748. Now, it's a good powder. I've used it in a test load previous to this one, and I've got it sitting in there, if I'm not mistaken, 76.7 grains. Look at here, 76.8 grains of the 748, and we've got the cartridge sitting right on 3.400 on its overall length, and that's damn near half an inch, 1/10 of an inch less. Now, like I said, those are set to be used from the magazine, so I can just fill a gun up with them and shoot them if I need to, if I decide to work on that load. I also have 5 more rounds, and they are seated out at 3.520, literally 120 thousandths more out from the 3400 seating depth of those that work in the magazine. Now these obviously are not going to load in the magazine. These are kind of something I've done in the past with long-range precision rifles, obviously, to get the best accuracy I could from a cartridge, from a load that I'd worked up. Now, I don't intend to use the 416 Ruger as a long-range precision unit on much of an occasion. But I do want to check and see if this affects the level of accuracy available from this bullet out of my particular weapon. Now, with this load at 3.400 on the overall length, I'm using this Winchester 748. But with this load, I have enough open capacity because I've stretched that bullet out 120 thousandths from the seating depth of the first load. And now I have enough room to pack in 81.0 grains of the Winchester 760 propellant and it not be a compressed load. It's almost like 99.8% capacity, but it should work really nice. So what I'm going to do, got this load right here. I'm going to test it for accuracy and going to test this load for accuracy, a 4-shot and a 5-shot group. Now, on the previous videos, when you might have been watching me fire into a paper target and getting sometimes pretty decent groups and sometimes not the best, but I mean, you know, it's a damn elephant gun. It's not a PRC competition gun. But one of the reasons why I feel that my groups are not quite what they could be is the fact that even though I've paid real close attention to the powder charges and trickling them out by hand, they're all exactly the same. One of the things that is going to cause the effect of not having the best group I can get is the fact of the optics that I had on the gun. Now, the optic was the Vortex Venom. It's a fast acquisition combat sight. It doesn't have crosshairs. If you're not familiar with that reticle, I'll drop a picture of it down here. That's what you're working with. Now, that reticle isn't designed for absolute pinpoint precision target shooting accuracy. That's a reticles whose only design is fast acquisition combat shooting. Basically targets on the move, more or less. So it's hard to get that little center dot to sit right in the middle of the bullseye and know that it's there all the time, because depending on your magnification at 50 yards, that dot can cover anything from ½ an inch to 1 1/8 in surface area on the target. You can't really tell if you're lined up absolutely on center. Now, it's no biggie. It shoots fine, you know, and it's charging water for buffaloes or elephants or grizzly bears, it's not an issue. But I want to see what kind of accuracy I can get from this, and so to be able to do that, I've had to swap out optics. Now, I've put another optic on the rifle for this testing, because this is going to tell me really what this rifle is capable of with these loads. And it's a SIG, and it's the Tango Whiskey, I believe, 3. It's got regular crosshairs, it's got mil-radians slash lines. It's a 1-inch tube, but it has something that the previous optic doesn't have. A crosshair center point, and it doesn't have a lot of other garbage around it, as evidenced by this picture here. All right, now we know. This reticle will give us the ability to get a much more precise aim point and hold it there. Therefore, we can get a much more precise grouping for these loads. Now, once I figure my load, once I decide on a load, if one of these does great, fine. I'll go ahead and load up a box full of that stuff, put 50 rounds in a big old box, and that'll be sitting ready for big old feral hog action. Or, you know, who knows, maybe a bear that's traveled up the river from Arkansas might happen to wander past the farm, be eating on a cow and have to be disposed of. Maybe I'll encounter a pig that weighs as much as a steer. That could happen, I've seen them. But for whatever reason, so these are the parameters we're working with. 3400, 35200, and like I said, 81 grains, a 760, 76.7 grains, a 748, and we're going to see how they do. We're going to run out to the range, put the rifle back in the sled, probably more than likely fire just a couple of rounds of something else to put a little fouling in the tube and to check zero of the scope, because I haven't done that yet. I more than likely will do that off camera. I'm not going to make you sit through that. And we'll find out which of these two loads is capable of the best accuracy. Now, if you say, Brad, what if those 5 loads that don't fit in the magazine for single load use only turn out to be a one-holer load? Well, I'll load up a box of one-holer single load only mags. I mean, think about it. It's not like I'm going to be using them to take down a charging dangerous animal. I can afford to use them one at a time. I have other precision weapons that I do that very thing with. We have a box of ammo that works through the mag, other ammo that don't work through the magazine, but it works real good at 700 and 800 yards. So, without further ado, like I've shown you those reticles, now I'm going to drop a couple of pictures to you, giving you a close-up of what this ammunition looks like, and one of them a comparable picture showing the difference in size of all the calibers that so far I normally use for pig hunting. All the calibers that are lined up in front of these cartridges have been used very successfully, very reliably over many years to kill piggies at all of the customary ranges you would use them for. So I'm not saying those rounds are not adequate, because they certainly are. I'm just saying, I think it'd be real fun to shoot a gigantic pig with a gigantic bullet. And so, on the picture where you see the comparative size on the different munitions, you've got a 10 millimeter auto, you've got a 44 Magnum, you got a 300 Blackout subsonic, you got a 308, and you got a 30-06. And with the exception of the .6 and the 308, everything else is dwarfed by these things. So check that little picture out right there. Ain't that wild? And I think we're ready. I think we're set. Now all we have to do is get Mother Nature to cooperate and not rain like a cow pissing off a cliff onto a flat rock for at least the next 3 or 4 days. And I don't think that's going to happen, but I hope it does, because if it does, then that means I can get to my range. So that's the intro part of it. That's the little lowdown on what we're doing, what we're doing it with, and how we want to do it, and what we're going after. And as soon as I can, I will get to the range, and I will get things set up, and I will fire these 2 test groups, and we will see what we will see. And until then, thanks for stopping in. Sorry there's been such a gap. I've had a couple people chime in asking me where I'm at. And Jeffrey, I'm here, honest. And dude, I'm working on it. And I also have another project in the works that I'm kind of trying to get information on right now as well. So without further ado, you guys have a great day. Stay dry. I'm going to try to do the same. And I'll be getting out there to the range as fast as I can. And until then, stay tuned, stand by, and I'll be seeing you somewhere soon, real soon, somewhere downrange. Bye.